1. So this happened back in 2006 when I was 16. My friend Taylor and I had spent the entire day skateboarding and filming around various parts of town as we were trying to finally finish up our epic skate video. It had gotten pretty dark, and we were just about to wrap it up to go home and see what we got. But my friend Taylor insisted we go back to a certain spot so he could try to get a better take of his best trick. The spot was located on a private commercial property. You had to park in a fairly rural area, hop the fence, and quietly walk in and hope to get a few attempts before getting booted by someone for skateboarding. But being after hours, we were fairly confident we were in the clear. The best part about shooting at this spot at night was that the area had notorious lore by the locals. Some say before they built what's currently there was an insane asylum that burned down, killing almost everyone inside. Others say it was a place people came together to practice witchcraft. Also, some say if you hiked in the woods outside the property, people swear time stands still, or when you leave, sometimes hours pass by as if they were minutes. So getting the shot at night would have fit great to the darker theme of the video we were trying to make. I set up my lights and readied the camera. Taylor tried to lip slide the handrail of the perfect 7 stair on the property. I've seen him land it way cleaner. We were both pretty dusty from skating all day, and it started to get really cold outside. I swear it went from 65 degrees to what felt like 40 degrees. Taylor was rolling up to the staircase for another try, and stopped and pointed out behind me. "There's a dude over there." I turned around and saw a guy lightly jogging straight toward us. He was wearing all black and had a funny gimp in his jog. He was in a dark spot, so it was hard to make him out. But as he got closer, we noticed it was just a security guard in a cheap uniform, probably about to kick us out. So I started packing my things, but literally could not find my backpack, which was by my side the entire time I was shooting. I was so confused. I frequently put things in and out of my backpack when I shoot, and it was gone. Taylor couldn't find it, and I checked the hedges near the staircase, but nothing. The security guard yelled, "Hey!" I responded, "Yeah, we're going." But as he got to us, I noticed something was totally wrong with this guy. He was scared shitless. He was sweating, shaking, breathing heavily, and looked absolutely panicked. "Please, guys, I'm not asking you to leave the property, please. Help me." We asked him what was going on, and he explained to us that someone had jumped him, and he would feel safer staying with us until the police arrived. Taylor and I, as young and stupid skaters, were all about the excitement, and ready to throw hands with some thug. So we waited on the staircase, trying to calm the guy down, waiting for the police, waiting to see if the thug was going to come back and start shit. 10 or 15 minutes pass by, and it's getting even colder outside. The security guard said he had a key to the door above the stairs, and we decided to wait inside of the building instead. It's dark inside, and smells horrible, but it was warm. I have no idea what type of facility this even was, or what they do there, but it smells rancid. I happen to have to take the biggest piss of my life, and the security guard points me in the direction of the bathroom. I go down the long and narrow dark hallway, wondering what the fuck I just got myself into. I pass multiple doors in the hall, and most are open. I take a glance in each of them as I pass by. They are mostly office-looking rooms with computers or stocked shelves of supplies, but one door caught my eye instantly. My fucking backpack was sitting on a chair inside the door. All the hairs on my neck stood up. I turned around and checked on Taylor, and he was still back there talking to the security guard. Next to my backpack, there was a dude lying on the floor, super stiff, almost like he was hiding. I instantly lost a desire to piss, nearly even pissed myself, and decided to walk back to Taylor. I was ready to get the fuck out of there, and now I am completely second-guessing the security guard. Either this guy was hiding the guy that jumped him, or we were about to majorly be set up, and it really felt that way. I get back to Taylor and ask the security guard why the cops aren't here yet. He said he would call them again on a landline, and goes down the hallway. I lightly whisper and tell Taylor about my backpack and about the guy. I count the doorways, watching the security guard go down the hall. He enters the exact room my backpack was in, turns on the light, and it's quiet. No, holy shit, there's a guy in here. No, hey, is this your bag? He's in there doing something, knowing there is another person in there. Taylor called 911 on his cell phone. The security guard pops out and says, "Hey, I called them." "That's not necessary." "Huh?" Taylor tells him where we are and that we were creeped out by the situation. The dispatcher told him that we needed to leave immediately. The security guard walks towards us, telling us to get off the phone. Then the guy in the room with him comes out and walks towards us with the security guard holding a knife. I held up my skateboard like a bat and told them to fuck off. But they kept advancing. We pushed the door open and bailed. We threw down and jumped on our skateboards and pushed as fast as we could. Our adrenaline was pumping. We got down to the gate and jumped it, and returned to our car. Being as stupid as we were, Taylor's still on the phone with the dispatcher, gets his paintball gun out of his trunk, and walks towards the gate and starts shooting it all over the property. Taylor and everyone in town had a history of frequently paintballing this building or playing paintball in the woods outside of it. 5 minutes later, the cops show up, cut the gate, draw their guns and sweep the place. They couldn't find the people, but they recovered my backpack like I had asked. I checked it to see if anything was missing, but nothing was missing, only gained. I found deli turkey meat inside of my bag, just open meat. It had to have been like 2 pounds of turkey. Super fucking weird. Taylor and I still talk about it. Apparently that place never had security staff, just day workers who keep an eye on the place. 2. I'm hoping sharing this story will alleviate some of the stress and anxiety it has caused me over the past month. I get weird people flirting with me or being creepy at work all the time, but this guy takes the cake. Here goes nothing. So this story happened at my workplace. I work in the cosmetics department of a pharmacy. To give you an idea of the layout, there is a high-end area that is the entrance of the store, and the rest of the pharmacy just beyond our section. The first encounter. Recently a guy came into the department and I gave him the standard, "Hi there, can I help you find anything?" To which he stared at me and made some type of noise, sort of a grunt. Now the guy was Asian and in my area. There are a lot of new immigrants, so I figured maybe he didn't speak English. I told him to let me know if he had any questions, and continued on to other clients while keeping an eye on him for loss prevention. To go on with this story, I have to explain the layout of the cash area. When you first walk in, you see the cash desk, and behind that desk is a sort of half-wall or divider that stands about 5'10" high, with more department on the other side. But this divider juts out from the floor and does not actually attach to the wall of windows running alongside the cash. Got it? Good. So I help everyone out and I'm standing at the cash. I look out the window because I have nothing better to do, and in my peripheral vision I see this guy, standing at the gap between the windows and the divider. This is not a place clients regularly find themselves in, and it's sort of a small area to just stand in. He is staring at me, emotionless, and when I run towards him he hides. So he clearly knows he is doing something strange and worth hiding. At this point I sort of pretend I don't see him and walk away from cash to lure him away. He moves away from the section and acts like he's simply looking at products. He then leaves the department, goes to various aisles and returns to look at a different section, all the while peeking up at me. We play this game of cat and mouse for a while and finally, I've had enough. At this point, I wasn't so much creeped out by him than annoyed that I had to watch him constantly because of his odd behavior. I called the manager on duty and told her he was making me uncomfortable, and she insisted he was probably just killing time waiting for a prescription. I went on break about 20 minutes later, with the guy having hidden behind me in that spot between the divider and windows at least one more time, as pointed out by a coworker walking by. I warned the cashier about the guy so she wouldn't freak out if she happened to see him standing there. and just to keep an eye out for him. On my way back from getting my lunch, he walked past me in the opposite direction. I avoided eye contact and rushed back to work. When I finished my lunch, my cover told me that he had entered the department again, looked around, and then promptly left the store. Knowing what I know now, he never purchased anything in the store, and was in the store for over an hour. He then left when I left, and then, while I was in the lunchroom, walked past the store multiple times, peering into the windows, like he was looking for something. Some of the co-workers that saw him would state that he looks like he might have a developmental delay of some sort, because of his actions, and that he was totally nonverbal. I hoped this would be the last I see of him, but I was wrong. The second encounter. A little bit less exciting, but this one stood out for a few reasons. This time I was working with my department manager who knew the story. She was in the back when he first came in, and I was working on some task. One of my jobs is to greet clients when they come in, so I was looking down but saw someone enter the store and said hello. I looked up from my work to see him turn around and recognize me. I swear it was like the Terminator acquiring his target. He zeroed in on me, which is still the only resemblance of emotion I've seen him have. He moved into the rest of the store, but I could see him hovering at the end of an aisle. I moved to the far end of the department, where I called my manager to come out immediately. Now my manager is a sassy woman who doesn't take shit from anyone. I pointed him out. He was heading towards his favorite place behind the divider to see if I was at the cash. And she went up to him and asked if she could help. Again he didn't speak, and tried to move away from her, but then kept watching me as I ignored him and kept working. For about 10 minutes she was on him as he left and returned from the department. His persistence is probably the creepiest bit. Eventually, he left the store, but my best guess is because he was not able to watch me in peace. The assumption that he was developmentally delayed continued with the new people who have seen him, but everyone agreed he knew he was doing something wrong. The third encounter. So this one happened on Saturday, and was probably the most frightening bit. I was at the cash serving someone, and they mentioned what lovely weather we were having. As they left, I kept looking outside only to see him hiding behind a pillar on the other side of the window. I immediately called the manager, Monica from the first incident, and she came running up along with 2 supervisors, Roberta, one who had seen the guy creeping on me in the first incident. The other, Carl, knew the stories. Monica sized him up from inside the store, staring right back at him. He ignored her and kept staring at me. She pretended she was on the phone, pointing at him, and hoping he would be scared she was calling the cops. He walked away, and then within a minute was back as though nothing happened, still avoiding them blocking his view of me while I helped clients. The rest of the story I heard from Carl and Roberta as I was serving clients. Carl said that Monica got fed up and went outside, telling him if he didn't move along she would call the cops. Apparently he stared at her emotionlessly, did not say a word, turned around and walked off to his car. Everyone was in shock that he was able to drive. Now I don't want to be an asshole. I am aware people with many developmental issues can drive, but everyone was convinced this guy was at a level where he would not normally be able to get a license, given his lack of communication skills and ability to take social cues. This further made him intimidating because he was no longer on foot, and from where he was parked, it seemed as though he had driven all the way there just to watch me. Monica said that he was so emotionless he freaked even her out. She believes that he is fully aware of what he is doing, and even possibly pretending to have some disability to appear more innocent. So there's my story. Here's hoping he doesn't ever come back. Three. Many people, when speaking of our society today, say that children are less safe than they have ever been before. Personally, I believe that no matter what year it is, we are always going to have horrible people running around on the streets. I think evil is just part of human nature. Maybe I read too many stories on this sub and others, but still. To all the parents out there, keep a close eye on your children. All of that aside, this particular encounter happened about 20 years ago when I was 3. My brother was a newborn at the time, and for financial reasons, my mom's stepdad, who later adopted me and became the man I consider my father, my brother and I all lived with my mother's parents. It was never a bad situation, but I think my mom grew frazzled quite easily, trying to raise 2 young children and also save up enough money for a house of her own. That's why we spent most of our time at lakes and parks. Any sort of free activity that would wear us out, I believe. Back then, my grandmother was in pretty good health, and I remember she drove my mom, my new brother, and me to a small lake in Denver for a fun weekend trip. I don't know why I remember all this information so well. Again, I was only 3. But I was already dressed up in a pink bathing suit and was chatting animatedly about going swimming to my childhood teddy bear. That is, until my brother started to fuss, and I plugged my ears to drown out the noise. When we arrived at the lake, my grandma and mom were visibly exhausted from the crying, and they quickly let me out of my car seat. They both told me to wait by the car while they comforted and fed my little brother, and I obeyed as they disappeared around the other side. I was just watching the waves on the lake. I've always loved swimming, and fiddling with my bear when 2 guys approached me from across the parking lot. Again, I don't know why I remember this so well, but the men were fairly young, maybe early 20s, and were dressed in baggy jeans and hoodies. I think they were both Caucasian as well, if that matters at all. I was too, for that matter. I got an immediate stranger danger vibe from them, and I remember pressing myself up against my grandma's car as though that would provide me protection. I was a pretty cautious child anyways. This was not the first weird encounter I had ever had with a stranger. But the instant terror I felt when these guys approached me caught me off guard. "Hey, little girl," one of the guys said, leaning down so he was in my face. "Do you want $1?" I did not say anything, and my limbs froze. I could not move even when the other man pulled out a $1 bill. The first man spoke again. "It's okay. If you get into our car, we'll give you $1. He started grabbing my arm, and I remember that I started to cry. However, I was so scared that I could not move or make a sound, so my tears were silent. "Don't cry, little girl. We'll give you $1. The man said, and he started to pull on my arm, dragging me towards a dirty, white van that scared me even more. The other man started to tell me that they were going to make me rich. I was going to earn more money than any other little girl would ever have, and I could then buy any toy I wanted if I just went into the van. When we were about halfway to said van, I dropped my teddy bear. Mr. Bear still actually sits on my bed. And that's when I let out an audible scream. The men did not seem too concerned until my grandma came out from behind her car and charged the men. She was carrying a baby bottle from feeding my brother, and she used that to begin beating the men. After a few choice words that I had never heard her use before or since, the men let go of me, and with dejected faces they ran into the van and sped off. After that, my grandma gave me my teddy bear back and carried me to my mom, where they calmed me down and called the police. After talking to me and wondering out loud how my grandma, a 70-year-old, very, very tiny woman, beat up 2 young males, she even had some blood under her nails from scratching at them, my mom and grandma decided it was best to just go home and try the lake again another day. I don't know if the men were ever caught, but I sincerely hope so. Something tells me that whatever they wanted with a cute blonde 3-year-old girl was not good. My grandma does not remember this story. She has dementia now, but she will ever remain a hero of mine. But my mom and I like to tell it to her and remind her that she is the bravest, kindest woman we know. Again, this was 20 years ago, but I would really implore any parents out there to make sure their kids are safe. There are some sick people out there, and that fact is not going to change, even with time. This was not the first time I was almost kidnapped, but it was definitely the most scared I have ever been. So 2 guys who tried to kidnap me at the lake. Let's not meet again. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 280. Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, we're sneaking closer and closer to episode 300. So tonight I began gathering stories. I began gathering them a while ago, but I've been adding more and more to stories for episode 300. I've currently got a 3, possibly 4-part story. Part 4 was deleted. I'll need to see if the person still has the text for it. But it's complete even with the 3, to be honest with you. Part 4 was just an update. And there's another story as well, which is, it's one story, but it's essentially part 1 and 2 is like a continuation, told from 2 perspectives. So that will also go in episode 300, and I'll be looking on the lookout for something a bit special as well to go in with that. That's probably a couple of months away when I think about it. I was thinking of adding a Q&A to it, but that might be a bit much since we just had one. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.